This is Preface Part 2 of book, How to Think Like a Roman Emperor, telling the story of Stoicism. A few years ago, when my daughter Poppy was 4, she began asking me to tell her stories. I didn't know any children stories, so I told her what came to mind. Greek myths, stories about heroes and philosophers. One of her favorites was about the Greek general Xenophon. Late one night, as a young man, he was walking through an alleyway between two buildings near the Athenian marketplace. Suddenly a mysterious stranger, hidden in the shadows, blocked his path with a wooden staff. A voice inquired from the darkness, "Do you know where someone should go if he wants to buy goods?" Xenophon replied that they were right beside the Agora, the finest marketplace in the world. There you could buy any goods your heart desired. Jewelry, food, clothing, and so on. The stranger paused for a moment before asking another question. Where then should one go in order to learn how to become a good person? Xenophon was dumbstruck. He had no idea how to answer. The mysterious figure then lowered his staff, stepped out of the shadows, and introduced himself as Socrates. Socrates said that they should both try to discover how someone could become a good person, because that, surely more important than knowing where to buy all sorts of goods. So Xenophon went with Socrates, and became one of his closest friends and followers. I told Poppy that most people believe there are lots of good things, nice food, clothes, houses, money, etc., and lots of bad things in life. But Socrates said perhaps they real wrong. He wondered if there was only one good thing, and if it was inside of us rather than outside. Maybe it was something like wisdom or bravery. Poppy thought for a minute, then, to my surprise, she shook her head, saying, "That is not true, Daddy," which made me smile. Then she said something else. "Tell me that story again," because she wanted to continue to think about it. She asked me how Socrates became so wise, and I told her the secret of his wisdom. He asked lots of questions about the most important things in life, and then he listened very carefully to the answers. So I kept telling stories, and she kept asking lots of questions. As I came to realize, these little anecdotes about Socrates did much more than just teach her things. They encouraged her to think for herself about what it means to live wisely. One day, Poppy asked me to write down the stories I was telling her, so I did. I made them longer and more detailed. Then I read them back to her. I shared some of them online, via my blog. Telling her these stories and discussing them with her made me realize that this was, in many ways, a better approach to teaching philosophy as a way of life. It allowed us to consider the example set by famous philosophers, and whether or not they provide good role models. I began to think that a book that taught Stoic principles through real stories about its ancient practitioners might prove helpful not just to my little girl, but to other people as well. Next, I asked myself who was the best candidate to use as a Stoic role model, about whom I could tell stories that would bring the philosophy to life and put flesh on its bones. The obvious answer was Marcus Aurelius. We know very little about the lives of most ancient philosophers, but Marcus was a Roman emperor, so far more evidence survives about his life and character. One of the few surviving Stoic texts consists of his personal notes to himself about his contemplative practices, known today as the Meditations. Marcus begins the Meditations with a chapter written in a completely different style from the rest of the book, a catalogue of the virtues, the traits he most admired in his family and teachers. He lists about 16 people in all. It seems he also believed the best way to begin studying Stoic philosophy was to look at living examples of the virtues. I think it makes sense to view Marcus' life as an example of Stoicism in the same way that he viewed the lives of his own Stoic teachers. The following chapters are all based upon a careful reading of history. Although we've drawn on a wide range of sources, we learn about Marcus' life and character mainly from the Roman historical accounts in Cassius Dio, Herodian, and the Historia Augusta, as well as from Marcus' own words in the Meditations. Sometimes we've added minor details or pieces of dialogue to flesh out the story, but this is how, based on the available evidence, I imagine the events of Marcus' life to have unfolded. The final chapter of this book is written in a different style, resembling a guided meditation. It is closely based on ideas presented in the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, although I've paraphrased his words to turn them into a longer account that, deliberately intended to evoke mental imagery and a more elaborate contemplative experience. We've also included a few sayings and ideas derived from other Stoic authors. I gave it the form of an internal monologue or fantasy because I felt that was a good way to present the Stoic contemplation of death and the view from above. This entire book is designed to help you follow Marcus in acquiring Stoic strength of mind and eventually a more profound sense of fulfillment. You all find that we've combined Stoicism with elements of cheat in many places, which as we've seen is only natural because cheat was inspired by Stoicism and they have some fundamental things in common. So you all notice that I refer to modern therapeutic ideas like cognitive distancing, which is the ability to distinguish our thoughts from external reality, and functional analysis, which is evaluating the consequences of different courses of action. PET is a short-term therapy, a remedial approach to mental health issues like anxiety and depression. Everyone knows that prevention is better than cure. Techniques and concepts from C have been adapted for use in resilience building to reduce the risk of developing serious emotional problems in the future. However, I believe that for many people a combination of Stoic philosophy and CBIT may be even more suited for use as a long-term preventive approach. When we take it on as a philosophy of life, with daily practice, we have the opportunity to learn greater emotional resilience, strength of character, and moral integrity. That is what this book is really about. The Stoics can teach you how to find a sense of purpose in life, how to face adversity, how to conquer anger within yourself, moderate your desires, experience healthy sources of joy, endure pain and illness patiently and with dignity, exhibit courage in the face of your anxieties, cope with loss, and perhaps even confront your own mortality while remaining as unperturbed as Socrates. Marcus Aurelius faced colossal challenges during his reign as emperor of Rome. The Meditations provides a window into his soul, allowing us to see how he guided himself through it all. Indeed, I would invite you, as a reader, to put effort into reading this book in a special way, to try and place yourself in Marcus' shoes and look at life through his eyes, through the lens of his philosophy. Let's see if we can accompany him on the journey he made as he transformed himself, day by day, into a fully fledged Stoic. Fate permitting, more people may be able to apply the wisdom of Stoicism to the real challenges and everyday problems of modern living. However that change won't leap off the page. It only comes by making a firm decision, here and now, to begin putting ideas like these into practice. As Marcus wrote to himself, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be, just be one.